Hello everyone, welcome back. Good evening. It is episode 368. Dude, what is the episode number? Come on. 387. What did I say? I was completely wrong. Whatever. Episode 387. I'm a little late. We have a lot to talk about, so it's for good reason, okay? We've got a good show tonight. I actually had to cut down on a lot of subjects that I would probably have to save for later because there's just that much stuff to talk about. There's the stuff with the Epstein thing. There's a lot of I don't know, some elections that happened for I guess some of the primaries. Some people getting elected, some people not getting elected. I think I'm going to save all of those topics for a different day when we have not a lot of news to talk about because I don't feel like it's like immediate relevant. What's relevant is the fact that Bitcoin rose to 74,000 out of the blue, which I'm not complaining, and this was expected on my part. I was expecting some point this week for us to break out of 70,000, and here we are. We finally did it. We topped out at 74,000 ultimately, meaning that whatever this downtrend line is, I think we could say goodbye to it. It's pretty safe to say goodbye. And this gives us enough room as well. Supertrend is still on its way up. Currently invalidates at 65,000 if things slow down at this area. Which means that even if we have a crash to 65,000, you're still technically in an uptrend following this uptrend line, of course. How do I expect things to continue? Towards the upside as well. I already have my preemptive take profit there just in case, right? We suddenly wick all the way up there. Stranger things have happened, so wouldn't surprise me. Now, what else am I... So I think that we will hit the 80,000 point at some point in the next 2 weeks. This week was the 70,000 area, which we have more than broken that for today, so I'm content with where we are. We can fluctuate around 70 something, maybe even high 60,000, but I don't think we're going to be making any new bottoms anytime soon. At least not until first we will hit 80,000. I expect that to happen first. So by the time we do that, that's probably going to be my exit signal because I don't think we're fully out of the woods yet. Things are still kind of bad, I guess. The war is still technically going on. The reason for the rise today, it's because we alluded to the fact that there might be some de-escalation talks coming soon, which that's a good thing, right? I was thinking about like what was going on and everything. Yeah, the war is happening. Does that mean we're going to continue making lower lows? Like I've said before, I feel like we have been pricing this in for the longest time ever, to the point where when the actual war hit and we actually killed the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, we just thought, you know what, that's it. Bottom is in. We've been pricing this in for the past 2 months. The war is practically won. We've toppled the regime, kind of. Now we just need the regime change to take effect. This is a regime change war, as everyone has been saying now. So, yeah, I feel like it's absolutely possible that this war could be ending. It won't be lasting too long. That's the one thing that I was hoping it won't do, and that's the thing that everybody else was also hoping that wouldn't happen for this war to last too long. We see what's happening with Russia-Ukraine. That's going on way too long, right? But this one seems like it's just a quick one and done, and we're good. That's it. We're done. Which I'm okay with, fine. Just don't want it to be prolonged forever. I was upset with this whole thing because of how long it's been just in the background, and now it finally seems like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I was not the only one who saw this, everyone else did, and they decided to dump a couple $1 billion to rise the price of Bitcoin over here. So I'm not complaining, like I said. The move so far is great. I love it. Altcoins are having a semi-okay day. Nothing too crazy, actually, but decent nonetheless. We'll be getting into that. We'll be mainly talking about in our news about more developments in Iran, new supreme leader, who it's going to replace, how much it's costing this war, and a lot of other crypto news in general. So we'll be getting into all that. Let's go. Ethereum. It's up 7.58% today, 2,126. That's pretty good. We hit an ultimate high of almost 2,200 at our peak. Uptrend is in our favor. It always has been. Not always, but just in recent times. How high can we go? 2,500? 600? That's like the equivalent I'd see for maybe Bitcoin 80,000. So far, so good. I like the movement. Uptrend is in our favor, following along pretty decently, and validates at 1,800. No big changes there. I think we will still continue to use 2,000 as a very good support to continue rising on Ethereum. So that's all good as well. Now, how do I expect things to react in the next few days if you were to ask me? I feel like we've comfortably acquired our target of 70,000. If we can just stay above 70,000 for Bitcoin, I know we're at 72,487 right now. As long as we do just remain above 70,000, if we retrace a little bit and then we continue rising a little more by end of week, that would hopefully be best scenario. So I don't know, to put it in simpler terms, Thursday correction because we are a bit overbought, and Friday another. I don't want to be too optimistic. I don't know, maybe another high, because I'm giving it another 2 weeks, so we could really just like stay consolidated in this area up until it gets time for whatever it is next week or the week after to start making a rise to around 80,000. But I feel like we're going to start getting familiar with the 70,000 numbers for at least the rest of this week is what I'm hoping for. That means Ethereum above 2,000. That means Solana above 90. Hopefully, I don't know. Solana, $90 was the Bitcoin equivalent to 70,000. I've mentioned that before. We finally did break out of it. We hit a high of $94, not 94,000 on Solana. So that was good. Current price is $90.19. I don't know. At least we broke out of this downtrend, but I was hoping for a bit more with Solana. It's only up 4%. When Bitcoin is up 6%. Seems like the confidence is not fully there yet, but it will come. You can just be patient, and it will eventually happen. I'm sure Bitcoin just needs to do its big thing first. Hyperliquid, using a $34 resistance pretty well, I guess. Have not been able to fully break above it. Our highest was $33.68, which we hit a couple days ago. I think we covered that one live, but we managed to stay above $30. As long as we stay above even $26.64, we'll remain in an uptrend overall. This downtrend line, though, I guess we are kind of respecting it for the time being. I still think Hyperliquid will continue to do well. Even if we do drop below 30, it's just going to be temporarily like we saw with previous cases over here. Because we do have the uptrend in our favor overall. So, which one will we pay more attention to? I don't know, this is a pretty perfectly symmetrical triangle, so it's all up to how popular things get, how popular decentralized exchanges continue to be, which I still think they will be popular. So overall, I would expect to break out toward the upside, especially if I'm expecting Bitcoin to be on the rise as well, then yeah, I think it should be good. Litecoin, $56. Okay. Overall, the resistance we have at 58. Our highest was 57.67. And I've been really ambitious with Litecoin to push it to around $70. I still feel like Litecoin right now, very, very oversold. Like, in a macro scale. Look where we are. Very oversold. Still, even at these prices. I feel like 70 is a guarantee. And then you can start, you know, looking for true resistance by the time we hit one of the super trend line, wherever it lands on the weekly chart, before we see a major resistance. So I feel like we've got plenty of room to run for Litecoin, even if we do rise to whatever this is, 53% at $87. I don't know, what would we expect for Bitcoin in that kind of case? What is this gap? Oh, that's not a gap. 27% rise, 50% rise to Litecoin kind of makes sense to me. And that's giving it like Bitcoin as a best case scenario rising to 93,000. I still think we are in a bear market, but this is just a correction, a dead cat bounce. Minimum, we should hit 80,000, and that's when I plan on getting out before we make another move lower, potentially a lower low, which I do not want to be a part of, and I do not want to hold a position open because I get liquidated if we make a lower low in the weekly chart. That means breaking below 59,000 to something like 54,000. That's where I get liquidated. So I do not want that to happen. I want to maybe get out over here. Just at break even. Yeah, call me a wuss. Call me whatever you want. Call me a chicken. I feel like that's just the best course of action up until like things genuinely improve. Maybe for the time being, what would I even do though? I mean, it's all in on Bitcoin. I do want to reserve some capital to like actually put into some trades, because I find that fun still. I'd like to throw a couple hundred here and there and just bet on how things go based off my technical analysis, which has proven to be pretty good over these past few weeks, except for this ultimate crash. And we would have predicted a $59,800 crash. And if you did, more power to you. I respect you. But I was predicting something 66,000. And I mean, we've been averaging at that price. If you take whatever the price span between February to March, that whole month, I'd say you'd average around 66,000. I'm not going to do the math, but that's what I basically see. Underwhelming rise from Sui, not even able to break $1, but that's okay. 99 cents is the highest we hit today. Current price is 94 cents. Come on, you can do better. I think it's like also Solana not making that big of a rise. Yeah, we did break above 90, but come on, you can do much better. These are volatile tokens, and the volatility is not there. People are scared is what I see for these. So come on, let's give it a bit of an enthusiasm boost, right? BitTensor also, I mean, it didn't make too much of a huge difference. Overall, it is a rise, a higher high, a higher low. Highest point we hit was 196. 200 is obviously where the resistance is. So that's what I expect to see. The price reach, right? All depending on what Bitcoin does, of course. Let's never forget. Chainlink, $9.26. No comments on here, honestly, but I still expect it to continue rising. We had a newer high, at least, today. 962. Alright, not bad. Yeah. This drop over here to $7 seems like a steal now, in retrospect. But you were scared to buy, and so was I, don't worry. Well, I didn't have any money, so that's my excuse. Even if I did, I'd still be scared, and I'd still just buy Bitcoin. But whatever. Hedera, still continuing its uptrend, I guess. Kind of in a range for the moment, but I still expect it to continue rising, given my prospects on Bitcoin and these other large caps. Monero. Oh my, look at that. I promise I did not touch this chart at all. I drew it out a couple days ago, some point last week, and it's playing out perfectly to the T. Drop and everything, super trend flip and everything. Maybe I adjusted it to like push it back a little bit, but I mean overall the trajectory is there, and man, this is going out pretty well. 360 is the current price of Monero. Don't take this target literally. I just drew it all the way up there as something stupid and ambitious. Look at the risk reward ratio. It's 4.21. Why would I do that? It's just a whatever, you know. I expect it to overall rise. How high? That's up to you. But yeah, it's on the rise. That's good. Uptrend invalidates at 311. Yeah, cool. There you go. Doing its rise as expected. That's great. So do I expect 80K this week for Bitcoin? Honestly, no. I think we do need to make either a lateralization or just a correction. Nothing too crazy, of course. I mean, even if we do get something crazy, like lower than 64,500, I mean, this is still on the rise. I think we could say maybe 65 or 66,000 is, you know, our lowest, no, our, what do you call it? A higher low. Yes, a higher low for Bitcoin before we ultimately, you know, continue to make another move up. But I really, you know, I would prefer, of course, we stay above 70,000. And we just see 70,000 whatever for the rest of this week. Now, we're still kind of close to, you know, maybe losing the 70,000. We're at 72,000 for crying out loud. $2,000 off. It's not a big deal when it comes to Bitcoin, and it'll only require a 3% drop, or more than a 3% drop, which can be done in a day, but I don't know. Are we expecting bigger news tomorrow? Not really. Non-farm payroll data is coming out Friday. That's just the only thing that I see that could bring some volatility. But I'm hoping it will be favorable, of course. Hello, Greg. Good evening. That's all for here. I think I'm ready. Let's get into the news now. Like I said, we've got a lot to talk about. It's all mainly Iran, but I mean, that's just literally what's driving everything, so we must talk about it. Always poking some fun over here at the beginning to start things off. It's not funny. His death is not funny. I mean, some people would disagree. I don't know. Do people agree or disagree? I know people who like him. I know people who hate him. But the Ayatollah was going to have a ceremony, a farewell ceremony, but it got postponed due to an expected unprecedented turnout of mourners. So not a lot of people were going to show up to his funeral, apparently. So they've announced a new time for the ceremony to be announced soon. All right. Well, that sucks, I guess. I don't expect my funeral to be any better, but okay. Trump. Well, not Trump. Stock market futures surge as the New York Times reports that Iran made a secret offer to the United States to negotiate a deal and end the war. That is part of the rise over here. That headline came out and it made rounds everywhere. So here's what the terms are. Potentially. None of it's confirmed. It was all rumors. But we'll get into that. So the terms are Iran will have to abandon or drastically curtail its ballistic missile and nuclear programs. I don't know if they're really going to do that. Iran will abandon or drastically reduce support for proxy groups. I could see them doing that. In return, Trump has suggested that he would allow Iran's surviving leaders to maintain power as long as they behave. And Trump suggested that he would employ the Venezuela model. What is the Venezuela model? That they just do what we say? It remains unclear if a deal is feasible at this point in time. We are between steps 6 or 7, okay, of our conflict playbook. What is your conflict playbook? We'll talk about the war expenses soon as well. There seems to be a lot happening behind the scenes. We continue to watch energy prices as the leading indicator. That is a good indicator. The conflict can only continue as long as energy prices are contained. That is also true. Energy prices, now this is another topic. The fact that they have been on the rise it has this kind of correlation with inflation, actually, which would be, of course, a good thing when it comes to Bitcoin and crypto. With higher energy costs, it costs more to transport goods around, I guess, the country, for example. We'll take gasoline for the example. Transport trucks need gasoline to deliver stuff from place to place. If oil costs higher, well, then the producers will ultimately have to start raising their prices to cover for those costs. And ultimately, who pays the price at the grocery store? It's the consumer. That is inflation 101. Now, if inflation is on the rise, then Bitcoin goes on the rise. Crypto. Well, not necessarily all crypto, but anything that is a hedge against inflation, something that has a fixed value, store of value. And Bitcoin, of course, is the strongest out of any other asset when it comes to hedge against inflation, right? So that's what another unrelated fact. No, related but not related. I don't know. It's just part of the rise. Part of it is for that reason. Iran reportedly signaled willingness to discuss terms to end the war through indirect outreach to the CIA shortly after the initial strikes. U.S. officials are said to be skeptical of the move, viewing it as tentative backchannel probing rather than a serious ceasefire offer, while Israel has urged Washington to ignore it, of course. So yeah, we don't know whether or not they're being serious. Do you really want to de-escalate this war, or are you just trying to buy some time again, make us believe, play with our feelings, and prolong this process? Because we don't really want this prolonged, so we want this ended as soon as possible. Also, well, before I talk about that, I guess I'll talk about this. Iran denied reports that they contacted the US for talks. So they don't want they either don't want to publicly admit it, or this whole news is fabricated, the fact that they want to de-escalate the war. Hey, fabricated or not, it allowed Bitcoin to continue rising, which that's all I truly care about. I do care about the war ending as well, of course. Iran is reportedly about to announce its new supreme leader, and the Assembly of Experts has voted. Iran's defense minister already said whoever they choose is a target for elimination. The most dangerous job on earth is about to be announced. That's another thing that Trump also mentioned as a joke at one of his press conferences, is that, oh, I'm also making jobs in Iran because now there's an open position for the supreme leader, right? Haha, I get it. And if you do pick it and you're still pro IRGC, I guess, you get bombed. So there's that. This is more about the guy who is likely to take the supreme leader's place. His name is Mujtaba Khamenei. He has made 4 secret trips to hospitals in London to be treated for impotency, according to declassified US intelligence document. Wow, we're calling him out live. Death to America, death to Israel, death to the West. Not just their not their doctors. Yeah, because, you know, impotence problems, I guess. All right, that's weird. New supreme leader is deeply entrenched in the UK, owning luxury properties in the most expensive parts of London and regularly coming to London for private healthcare. And the UK allowed this for years. Yeah, cool. So, any explanation, Mr. Keir Starmer? What is this all about? You have the supreme leader just freely going in and out of your country. I guess we never knew that he would become this. But I mean, that's just part of when you import a lot of Muslims, I guess. Immigrate, they're not products. Whatever. That's a whole other issue in Europe. Now, here's, I guess, more updates of all events that have happened. I don't even know if I should read this whole list. Iranian achievements so far. They killed 10 Israeli civilians. They killed no soldiers. A majority of the casualties occurred from ballistic missile impacts in residential areas. There was no military bases that were hit. I don't know if that's a W or an L, because you're not protecting your civilians, but you are protecting, you know, your military bases, I guess. But come on, what matters more? I don't know, dude. And then the updates on Iran, what has been happening there. Ali Khamenei killed. Multiple senior IRGC commanders were also killed. Several Iranian nuclear scientists eliminated. Natanz uranium enrichment facility heavily damaged. Isfahan nuclear technology Isfahan nuclear technology center struck. Fordo nuclear facility area bombed. Is this stuff from last year? Because I have not heard about Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordo this year. I'm assuming we're including stuff from last year. That's cheating. Well, okay. Arak heavy water reactor complex targeted. Quds Force Command and Center in Tehran destroyed. Hundreds of ballistic missile launchers destroyed. Missile production facilities hit. Missile storage bunkers destroyed. Surface-to-air missile batteries destroyed. Long-range radar systems destroyed. Iranian air defense network severely degraded. Israeli air superiority achieved over western Iran. Covert Mossad drone sabotage bases established inside Iran. Drone attacks destroyed missile launchers before launch. Weapons convoys between Tehran and Qom destroyed. Basically everything is destroyed. Here's more stuff. 500 Iranian regime and military targets attacked. 200 Israeli fighter jets used in opening strike waves. Hit roughly 100 targets in the first night. Missile arsenal significantly reduced. Command and control infrastructure disrupted. U.S. strategic bombers struck deeply fortified nuclear infrastructure, military facilities, military networks, intercepted drones in the Gulf. All this stuff. And helped intercept ballistic missiles heading toward Israel. All this stuff has been happening. So it seems like a pretty one-sided war. And Russia, China are nowhere to be seen to help out. They're just letting it all happen. I'm sure they're busy with their own stuff. Or maybe this is just a defiant move by the United States showing their power. Hey, you guys better not, decide to continue any wars, or else this might happen to you. I don't know. We'll see. Iran prepared for this attack for months. They knew it was coming. Do you really think that okay, what am I reading? Do you really think that if they had any aces up their sleeve, they wouldn't have used them by now? That's also a good question, I guess. Do you think that they said, let's wait until our top military brass, our navy, and our supreme leader are eliminated, and then we'll surprise them? There are no hidden cards. This is it. What you're seeing now is fanatic zeal facing the greatest concentration of air bombing the world has ever seen. And for the first time in history, war is being fought with battlefield AI that reduces human casualties in ways previous wars couldn't. This is the end game. Ignore the headlines, look at the facts. I also see it this way. Because what is Iran's next move? I've been saying this before, they're like headless chickens, they're just launching missiles at everything and everyone. So it's like, they've clearly lost the war. That just looks like desperation at this point to kind of make a name for themselves, or something symbolic for a strike, some form of retaliation to not look like they did nothing in response to basically all their leaders dying at this point. What else are they going to do? They're done. So I feel like the end to the war should come soon. Literally, what can they do? This is also happening. NATO air defense systems have shot down an Iranian ballistic missile that was launched toward Turkey. Turkey is a NATO member. And an attack on NATO is an attack on all. Will the rest of the NATO countries get involved now? I mean, isn't the United States also NATO, and didn't they also technically attack the United States? At least their bases, right? Israel is not NATO, so that doesn't count. But Turkey is NATO, and they launched a missile there. What are they doing? And if NATO does get involved, like, with more cause, like, this war will be over much sooner. Right? So it's interesting what's happening there. The regime is panicking. Victory gets closer every day. Yeah. I feel like the war is going to end soon. Trump made some comments saying, from a military perspective, we have defeated Iran, and we are still hitting their missiles and launch systems. The Iranian regime no longer has air defense systems or surveillance, and it should prepare for major damage. There are people in Iran who are demanding immunity, and at some point they will lay down their weapons. Some European countries helped us with regard to Iran, and Germany was fantastic. Germany allows our planes to land in certain areas, and we appreciate that. There was also this talk, I don't have the post pulled up, it was one of the few that I had to delete. Is it a prime minister in Spain? President of Spain? Prime minister of Spain? Spain... Prime Minister. It is a Prime Minister. Pedro Sanchez. He apparently prohibited the United States from using their military base to, I guess, send their planes to attack Iran. They're like, we're not going to get involved in another conflict. And of course, Trump is very upset with him for that. So, just more feud going on with Spain. I don't know if this post talks about it. The Iranian regime no longer has air defenses. Yeah, I just read that. There is no evacuation plan for embassies because the situation happened too quickly. Iran has been a sponsor of terrorism in the world for years, and something had to be done. The German Chancellor Merz, is it Merz? We hope that a new government will be formed in Iran that will bring peace and freedom. And Trump said that Iran is an evil country, and its regime killed 35,000 of its citizens. And about China, we have good relations with China. So China will not get involved, right? We'll see. J.D. Vance commented on it, saying that Trump will not get the United States into a years-long conflict with no clear objective. So the objective, according to J.D. Vance, is that Iran can never be allowed to obtain a nuclear weapon. That is the goal of this operation. Okay, well, let's just hope it indeed does not enter a years-long conflict, because that would suck. In Congress, remember this thing was about to get passed? It didn't. U.S. Senate votes 53-47 to block a war powers resolution that would stop further military strikes on Iran without congressional approval. I guess that means Yeah, it would have required Trump to end unauthorized US military hostilities against Iran unless Congress explicitly approves them. So it failed. That means Trump will still will still be able to continue to do whatever he wants to do and continue the war. It's largely symbolic anyway, as it would need House passage and then Trump's signature to take effect. Yeah, Trump is not going to sign this. So it was a nothing burger. So much for that. The spending. U.S. military spending could reach $7.7 billion against Iran. A newly created website shows live estimated U.S. spending surpassing $2.2 billion in just 4 days. Daily operation costs are around $220 million. At this pace, if the conflict lasts the 4 to 5 weeks that Trump estimates, 4 to 5 weeks, not 45, the total spending could soar to $7.7 billion, is how much we're probably spending. We actually spend $2.8 billion per day on interest payments for the national debt as well. So does it really matter is what people are saying. Lower the rates. You think that's bad luck what they're spending on the war? I guess here's like the real chart. In 4 days, every day we're just calculating how much money is being spent and how much it would increase in the upcoming weeks. Projected expenses. What is most likely? It's about $65 billion in 5 weeks. The highest that we should spend, it's projected to be $95 billion. That's not a big deal. Wasn't Trump also wanting another, like, he wanted something to increase the spending for the military once again, like by another $1 trillion, or on top of the $1 trillion that we already spend on the military. It was something like that. He wanted to continue to expand that. So, yeah. We'll see what happens. Effective immediately, says Trump, I have ordered the United States Development Finance Corporation to provide, at a very reasonable price, political risk insurance and guarantees for the financial security of all maritime trade, especially energy traveling through the Gulf. This will be available to all shipping lines. If necessary, the United States Navy will begin escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz as soon as possible. No matter what, the United States will ensure the free flow of energy to the world. The United States' economic and military might is the greatest on earth. More actions to come. This is pretty big. To try to regulate the whole cost of energy rising due to this war. The Strait of Hormuz, which is south of Iran, was effectively closed, and 20% of global oil supply travels through there, as we've discussed. And that's going to take a hit on the prices, of course. That's why you see oil prices on the rise, because there's less oil. There's less oil that could be given to the people. So Trump seems like he will take the matter into his own hands and, like it says here, begin escorting tankers to ensure that the oil does flow to where it has to go to, right? That should help with the inflationary issue. Delcy Rodriguez, I mean, this is the ace up our sleeve, I guess. The fact that we took Venezuela first before deciding to go for something like Iran. Venezuela was like our little insurance thing when it comes to oil. She's now the president of Venezuela, I guess. She's doing a great job, says Trump, and is working with U.S. representatives very well. That's the kind of regime change we want. The oil is beginning to flow, and the professionalism and dedication between both countries is a very nice thing to see. So that's the way to offset, of course, the way how prices spiked in oil is with Venezuelan oil. And they've got a lot, so 5D chess, I guess. The tariff refunds, that's still an issue as well. Seems like on top of the refunds that we have to give if some companies decide to sue the US government for it, it seems like the US will also have to pay interest if they are ordered to pay importers tariff refunds. The extension for this was declined, so it seems like we're gonna get like a firm decision about this soon. And why is this short-term bullish as well? Because how are you going to return, how much is it again? $200 billion? you're going to have to print. And inflation. Everything is pointing to the money printer right now. So that is also helping with assets like Bitcoin. So I guess a recap. It surged past $70,000 per Bitcoin as Iranian intelligence officials have reportedly reached out indirectly to the CIA to discuss terms for ending the conflict, according to officials cited by the New York Times. Publicly, Tehran continues to refuse negotiations with President Trump, and the U.S.-Israeli strikes do continue. So maybe this is just a short-term news thing that spiked everything up, like I said, but I do see other factors pointing toward a continued movement for the price to continue up. Because if we get like a actual deal to end the war, that's bullish. If it doesn't end, you know, inflation will still have to kick in, which will still be good for Bitcoin. We've practically already won the war with killing Ayatollah. Whoever replaces him, one guy replaced him, or at least tried to already, immediately died within 6 hours for refusing actual regime change, right? And I guess whoever goes in next, this guy that travels to the UK, I don't know about him. He might be next on the death list. We'll see. I don't know. But whatever. Wishing him all the best, of course. I like this. I agree with this post, by the way. Breakout above 71,000 for Bitcoin. The daily candle needs to close above to ensure this is going to hold, but assuming it does, the shaded areas, target 1 and target 2, are the two major resistance levels that this guy sees as realistic targets for Bitcoin to reach in the coming few weeks. His guess is $79,000 to $81,000 is roughly where we might get to. So do I. 81,000, 80,000. I feel like we could absolutely hit that in the upcoming 1 or 2 weeks. The range was about 9.2k for the white rectangle, so adding that to the point of breakout gives us approximately 81,000 as a target. I would not expect any higher than this, as this is very likely to be a relief rally in the context of a bear market, literally what I also project. Once this rally is done with, it is likely to resume the broader downward trend, literally also what I project. Plan accordingly. If you're holding on to alts, this rally is where you may consider to scrape together what's left and make an exit. I'm exiting Bitcoin if we do hit 80,000. I don't think we will continue rising too much higher, especially because of, you know, downtrend line, etc. How about Ethereum? Hey, Pika Pooch. Ethereum, I mentioned, I think 2,500 to 2,600 is a high before we continue drop. 2,500 to 600 is where I put a target for Ethereum. Depending, of course, if Bitcoin does reach its 80,000, that's what I would see as the equivalent for that. Another way of drawing it with a much more bullish target, I do not see this as realistic, but it's a secondary way of looking at it. What would this be? A huge reversal pattern? How high? 99,000? That's too bullish. It's possible. Yeah, so I feel like no, we do have to like slowly rise over here, dead cat bounce, hit the 80,000, make a macro lower movement, because we are still in a downtrend in a bear market, as much as we hate to admit it. Maybe we'll reach this uptrend line, which could be around 60s, lower 60,000s after hitting 80,000, and then we can continue to make a larger rise. But this, we're talking about like a month's worth of time frame. So we just gotta wait and see, honestly. But I like that analysis so far. Don't listen to Peter Schiff. He says that Bitcoin above 71,000 is a head fake and urges investors to sell Bitcoin and buy gold or silver. Yes, especially as they are already risen all the way up. Buy those instead of Bitcoin. That is very cheap and arguably at a great price to buy. How is gold and silver? 5,192 for gold. Silver is at 85. Do we even hit 100? No, not really. 96. That's pathetic. Still good overall. They're doing fine. I don't blame them. And I haven't looked at oil either. Okay, oil is still on the rise. There you go. $76 per barrel. Not bad. Trump also commented on the Genius Act here. He said it's being threatened and undermined by the banks, and that is unacceptable. We're not going to allow it. The US needs to get market structure done ASAP. I agree, Mr. President. Americans should earn more money on their money. I also agree. I'm not American. The banks are hitting record profits, and we are not going to allow them to undermine our powerful crypto agenda that will end up going to China and other countries if we don't get the Clarity Act taken care of. Agreed. The Genius Act was the USA's first big step to make the United States the crypto capital of the world, and getting the Clarity Act done is the next step to finish the job and, most importantly, keep this big and powerful industry in our country. Hey, he's tossing us a bone at least for the crypto bros. I think that's good enough to keep us in the loop. The banks should not be trying to undercut the Genius Act or hold the Clarity Act hostage, which is literally what they are doing right now. The whole issue with the stablecoin payouts and bank loan, not bank loans, but the interest payouts that banks give. They'll lose competition to stablecoins is what they fear, their savings accounts. They need to make a good deal with the crypto industry because that's what's in best interest of the American people. For the few investors that remain, I guess. This industry cannot be taken from the people of America when it is so close to becoming truly successful. You hear that, guys? We're so close to becoming truly successful. Maybe selling at 80,000 is a mistake. Hey, if it is, whatever. There will always be opportunities. And at least I get my money back. So yeah. US government has also transferred out 0.334 BTC, roughly worth $22,660, to 3 new wallets in the past hour. Why? Don't know. They didn't sell it. They're not allowed to sell it. Don't know what that is. Probably custodial purposes. Visa and Stripe are planning to expand their stablecoin card issuance product to over 100 countries. Is Canada involved? Grok did not even reply to this poor guy for one day. What even is this stablecoin card issuance? It seems interesting, I guess. From 18 live countries to over 100 by year end, enabling direct spending at 175 million merchant locations worldwide. It targets regions like Europe, Asia Pacific, Africa, and Middle East. Literally not Canada, okay. Where stablecoins could bridge financial inclusion gaps by offering low-cost, instant cross-border payments. Literally so good. Community reactions blend optimism for mass adoption with caution that cards represent a spending layer that rather than full ecosystem integration, reflecting broader crypto debates on utility versus hype. Will the card... No. Will the countries where the card issued will be... Am I even saying this right? Will the card issuance include countries like Canada and USA, IUSA? No. Okay. Well, then who cares, I guess. I do not reside in Europe or Middle East. It does not currently include or explicitly plan for card issuance in Canada or USA. Well, that's boring. I'm sure there's other workarounds, other products that do it, but what are those products? Okay. Well, there's that at least. It's a good start. On the other side of the planet, Australia granted a regulated digital dollar license on the XRP ledger, allowing banks to use a compliant AUD stablecoin on-chain. Lovely. We love stablecoins. Kraken. This is a big one for Kraken. They became the first crypto firm to gain access to the Federal Reserve's core payment system, securing a master account. Cool. What does this mean? Kraken. The United States' second largest crypto exchange has just done something no other crypto firm has ever done before. Secured coveted access to the Federal Reserve. According to Washington Street Journal report released this morning, the exchange's banking arm, Kraken Financial, has been approved for a Federal Reserve master account by the Kansas City Fed, marking the first time a crypto-native company has gained direct, albeit limited, access to the Fed's payments system. The approval comes 5.5 years after Kraken filed its application with the Kansas City Fed in October 2020. So it's been 5 years. But super important, Kraken just became the first crypto firm to secure a Federal Reserve master account, which means that they can hold reserves, settle payments directly in central bank money. Direct access to the core rails of the US financial system is next level progress, and you can be sure other exchanges aren't far behind. It may have taken some time, but it was well worth the wait. I agree. So, under the limited purpose or skinny master account framework floated by Fed Governor Christopher Waller, we love Waller, the firm can hold reserves and settle in central bank money, but it cannot lend, nor access the Fed's discount window or operate as a traditional commercial bank. Governor Waller is seeking to finalize his skinny master account proposal by the end of this year. The Kraken approval, sources tell me, is designed as a pilot program to trial the skinny master account concept. The skinny master account, I don't like this name. It is in line with payments-only accounts provided by central banks in the United Kingdom, the European Union, and Switzerland. The decision marks a historical shift for an industry long shut out of the traditional banking system, and signals a softer tone at the Fed, which critics have previously described as hostile to crypto under the prior administration. The decision also impliedly recognizes that the Fed believes Kraken has sufficient anti-money laundering and sanctions compliance practices to curb illicit finance risk. Yeah, let's not forget, this is also really good for Kraken itself. And Wyoming's regulatory framework for special purpose depository institutions is in line with the Fed's banking standards. Also bullish for Wyoming, I guess. Is it Wyoming? Or Kentucky? Is Kentucky Wyoming? I have no clue. I'm sorry. It's not. I'm sure it's not. This could kick off a surge of Fed master account applications from other crypto firms. On the horizon, we have got Wyoming's Custodia Bank, which has been chasing access nearly as long as Kraken and has been engaged in litigation against the Fed since 2022. Anchorage and Ripple also have applied for master accounts. More to come. Explained in simple terms, it's bullish for adoption prices and the whole market maturing. So good news overall. I guess that's also part of the rise. We can celebrate that too. Why not? Top 10 news, I guess. This is from a few days ago, but it's still relevant, I guess. Vanik CEO says Bitcoin is making a bottom, and this is a very nice sign of life. I kind of agree. Maybe not for long, though. We still got to be cautious. We're still in a bear market, okay? The U.S. Senate Banking Committee's 21st Century Road to Housing Act includes a provision banning the Fed from issuing a retail central bank digital currency set to expire in 2030. Uniswap, they win the full dismissal of the scam token class action lawsuit, with the judge ruling that the platform cannot be held liable for third-party token issuers' misconduct. Hey, that's good for Uniswap, I guess. I've never looked at Uniswap chart. Has it been bullish? I guess it speaks for itself. What happened here? Hello. I'm assuming this is when... No, this is 11th of February. That is way too far back. This is 25th of February. That news came out 2nd of March. It would have been a move like this, a 5% rise. What is going on with Uniswap? I like that kind of volatility, though. Current price is $3.99 if you care. I never looked at this, honestly, but okay. I should zoom out, I guess. It does not look great. It looks better than Litecoin, at least. Kind of. But anyway, I'm not a big Uniswap fan anyways. I've only used Uniswap like once, and that was to like... It was to help my brother get out of a position on a token that he wanted to take profit with. There was this token on crypto.com. What even was it? Was pseudo token or something? Let me look it up. It was this weird token released on Ethereum chain. Pseudo, I think it was. Pseudo swap. What is this garbage? Why would he buy that? But that's not what I'm looking for. When would this have happened? Would it have been 2023? No, I don't think so. 2024 for sure. I think it was. He bought like somewhere down here. It made a big rise to someplace like up here. And it's like, dude, I need to sell this, but like, it's on crypto.com, but they only let me sell like a little portion of it. I cannot sell the whole thing because of, low liquidity. They restricted him, like how much you could sell at a time, which sucks. And centralized exchanges suck for that. But I was like, okay, well, solution is decentralized exchanges. Where else can I see this token? Says Uniswap. So then I downloaded Uniswap, opened a wallet. It was not a fun experience because you had to use Ethereum as a gas payment option. So I had to tell him, okay, yeah, send me all your pseudo-swap or pseudo token, whatever this is, to my decentralized Uniswap address, to my wallet. So he did that. And then I'm like, okay, well, I need Ethereum to actually sell it into USDC or something. So he sent me some Ethereum as well. And then I was able to sell that pseudo swap for profit overall for him, which was fine. And then I sent him back USDC, and then he could sell the USDC as much as he wanted on the crypto.com exchange. And that's how we cashed out. Ultimate way to get around that. Like, literally, why couldn't we just do this all in the same exchange on crypto.com? But anyways, I don't know why I went on a huge tangent. I guess that's like the one time I've ever used Uniswap. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon says banks are pushing for a level playing field with crypto firms under US regulation. The whole holdup with the Market Structure Bill, the Clarity Act. Passing the US market structure bill before November midterms, it's looking increasingly unlikely amid congressional delays. What? I thought the odds were up. What are you talking about? Let me find that. Oh, look. Will the Iranian regime fall by June 30? 40% chance. June 30. Okay. Clarity Act signed into law. It's at a high percentage. I don't think the odds have necessarily been dropping. This is all time chart. Give me like a 1 month. Yeah, we're fine. It looks very likely that we will get this signed. Before when? In 2026. Okay, well, I guess it makes sense if you're talking about November, so I don't like to see it get delayed, but it might get delayed, as long as it does get signed in 2026. That's what truly matters, and the odds are in our favor, so far. A federal appeals court rejected the Trump administration's request to delay tariff refund litigation, which allows importer refund cases to move forward. Yeah, we talked about that. NASDAQ has filed with the SEC to launch prediction-style binary options tied to the NASDAQ 100 index. Prediction-style binary options. What is that? Binary options. I'm trying to learn options. I think I do. I have heard of binary options. I have to study it more. I have heard of it though. What is Quivalis? It's a consortium of major European banks. They were in talks with crypto exchanges ahead of a euro-pegged stablecoin launch in the second half of 2026. Okay, well, euro stablecoin is dropping soon. Turkey's ruling AK party proposes a 10% tax on crypto gains per Reuters. Is that good or bad? What is the AK party? That does not sound cool if they... I'm sure this is like a political party. But why AK? AK-47s? Is that how you take over the government? Anyways, 10% tax on crypto gains. I don't know. Is that good or bad? What was it before? Do we know? Don't I have like a chart that shows all this? Capital gains tax rates. This is not specific to crypto. This is just in general. Oh, they updated the website. Turkey. T. To Turkey. 40%. Okay, so that's good then, if they're dropping it at 10%. Right? Foreign central banks now hold more gold than US treasuries for the first time in nearly 30 years. Okay. That's all. Looks good. Looks great. I like it all so far. Optimistic about the next 2 weeks. After that, though, beware, proceed with caution. 80,000 is not a guarantee even at this point, but it's highly likely, and I do see it happening, and I have plans for when it does happen. Toward the opposite side, I mean, what really is the true downside? The war is ongoing, and it seems like it will end soon. I'm no longer feeling bearish from any of that kind of narrative, I guess. Just a lot of good stuff to look forward to, in my opinion. So I don't feel bearish down over here. I'm just playing cautious over here. I'm saying 80,000 as a top just to be cautious, because I'm probably not going to see, nobody's going to see whatever comes up next. We're not going to see it coming. And corrections usually do happen. We are in a bear market right now. Things can change immediately, drastically. Sentiment changes fast. We went from extreme fear to fear in my last stream, which we covered. Like how fast we're kind of recovering over here. Fear read index is already at 29. We were at like 5, the lowest ever. When was this? February 5, last month. Already on the rise. Can we hit neutral at least? At 80,000, I think we should. And then, you know, since we are in a bear market, we might continue a little lower, and then the fear will hit once again. But overall, I think it's great. And if it was, I mean, if Bitcoin has to go to like even higher than 80,000, so be it. I won't complain. But yeah, overall optimistic. That's my thoughts on the market. That's all I have for tonight's stream. That's all the news I had to cover. We will cover more stuff tomorrow. If nothing happens tomorrow, I still have a lot of other untouched subjects that we'll have to get into. So there will be plenty of content for that. But for tonight, that's all. So thanks guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow then. Have a great rest of your evening. Bye.